Okay, Code Kids, so today I wanted to go over how we can create a maze game in Scratch. I think this is one of the initial games that you can create. It's pretty simple and it shouldn't take you all that long to do it. So let's get started. As you can see here, I already started to create my background and I did that just by going to my backdrops and creating my own backdrop. So I filled it with a color and I used the line tool to draw the lines that you see here by just clicking and dragging to the position that I want to finish at. So that's really just the very basic thing that you need to have to start. And the other thing that you need to have is a few characters that you're going to program to be able to travel through this maze. So I'm going to go to my sprite library and I'm going to pick just a couple animals. Let's see, let's go with the dog. And I'm also going to pick a dinosaur and an elephant, I think. So we obviously need to change the size of each of these characters. That's a pretty simple change. Just drawing a box, making them smaller, pulling them back to the center, because we want to make sure that all of our characters can travel through each portion of the maze, because in the end we're going to end up programming some lines and we want to make sure that if they were to run into those lines it wasn't an issue. So I'm going to pull both of the designs for these characters, make them smaller, bring them back to the center of my plane here. Okay, I think that's pretty good. For the dinosaur, I'm going to do the same thing. Do that. And the dog, I'm going to make him smaller as well. Another box around my character. Drawing this box, just to give you a quick reminder, all I do is click, right-click on my mouse and drag my mouse to create the box, and I make sure that I get the entire character surrounded. Because if you don't get the entire character surrounded, sometimes you can just move one portion of the character, and that can end up being an issue for you. So again, I'm just editing all of these just in case I decide I want to use them, trying to make them about the same size as each other. Okay, so now that we have our sprites, we need to give them a few things. One, we obviously need to program a starting point for each one of them. So I'm going to go to Events. When the green flag is clicked, go to this point, because the point that is in this box is the point that these characters are currently standing at. So I actually want to move them so that they kind of all have an even chance at the start. So let's redo that. Have our dog go to -95 and a +136 for my y-axis. For my dinosaur, he's right around the same place. And again, the same thing for my elephant. So now, when the green flag is clicked, when the game begins, all of those characters go to that location. So they're there, they're ready to get started. And now we need to decide what keys we want to use to program each of these characters. And it really is a pretty simple program. You're just going to program how they move forward, backward, right, and left. So for my first character, for my dog, I'm going to make it really easy and just use the arrow keys. So an up arrow, a down arrow, a right, and a left. And I'm going to go to motion, and I'm going to change Y by, I'm sorry, this is the X. So for the X, I'm going to change X by 10 with my right arrow because I'm moving in the positive direction in this direction. I'm going to change X by a -10 with my left arrow because I'm moving into the negative space of the coordinate grid. And then I'm going to do similar things for my Y and change my Y by 10 when it moves up, and change my y by a -10 when it moves down. Again, this is just how our characters are able to move on the coordinate grid. And if I were to click on the green flag and click on these 4 keys for my dog, he's going to be able to move, and he could actually move all the way through my maze if I wanted him to. So things look pretty good to start for the dog. Now for the other 2 characters, I need to do something extremely similar. But you're going to use different drop-down menu options for them. So I'm going to add these things to my backpack. It'll just make it a teensy bit easier when I go to the next character. So for the dinosaur, I'm dragging these scripts in. And for my dinosaur, I'm actually going to use WASD. For any of you that play Minecraft, those are the keys that you use to move forward, backward, right, and left in that game. So I thought that that would be a nice option. It's also nice because it's on the other side of the keyboard, so you really can have multiple players playing on the same computer, the same game, without really having to bother each other that much. So for my right arrow, I'm going to move, my right arrow is D. Got to think about that a little bit. My left arrow, which is down, is going to be S. And this one's S. My down arrow is S. Sorry about that. And my other X, which is going in the negative direction, that's really moving to the left, that's the A key. So W means I'm moving forward. S means I am moving down. A means I'm moving left. And D means I'm moving right. Great. And as you can see here, I am testing my code. I'm trying it out to make sure that things are right. It's a good idea to test your code at different points as you're working on it. It makes it a lot easier for you in the future, because once you have a whole lot of code, it's a lot harder to double check and figure out where things might be going wrong. It's much more difficult to debug if you do it at the end rather than at the beginning. So now for my last character, I'm just going to use B, the space bar, V, and N. So I'm going to use B as my up key. For my left arrow, I'm going to use C, or V, I'm sorry, V. I was looking at my keyboard and got confused. For my right arrow, I'm going to use N. And for my down arrow, I'm going to use the space bar. So for this character, I should see him move down, up, right, and left. Great. Green flag. Now they all go back to the beginning just like they're supposed to. So now we have a game that works like a game, yet it doesn't yell at a character if it cheats and just runs across a line to the final stop. And it also doesn't tell you that you won. So we're going to work on adding those 2 things in our next video. Thanks for watching.